COVID-19 cases are increasing in Saint Lucia. As of January 28, 2021, we have passed 1,000 cases with 13 COVID-related deaths. Some people are putting the blame on the CMO and the Alan Shastney government. But Saint Lucia, let me remind you that on October 2nd, 2020, Saint Lucia had recorded 28 cases and no COVID-related deaths. By November 12, 2020, the number of cases had ballooned to 148, with 2 known COVID-related deaths. Something had happened during this period. Now, I really need to go back to September 29th, 2020, when the Alan Shastney government tried to have the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Bill passed into law. That bill sought to put measures in place to keep all of us safe. Guess what, Saint Lucia? Some who seemingly had no regard for our well-being had all kinds of derogatory things to say. The bill was referred to as draconian. People who should have known better stated that the bill was infringing on the rights of citizens. In fact, the Bar Association called for the bill to be deferred pending public consultation. According to the release from the Bar Association, and I quote, "We should under no circumstances accept a compromise of our rights and civil liberties due to this lack of understanding of the necessity of public consultation, our democracy, and the rule of law." End of quote. Some said there was no COVID cases here, so why such a bill? They asked, why have a bill lasting for 2 years? The opposition parliamentarians walked out of the House and did not participate in the passage of that important piece of legislation. It was a good thing there were enough government parliamentarians in the House to ensure that this crucial bill was passed. At the Senate level, you will remember that the opposition senators boycotted the proceedings and the independent senators fell ill. Fortunately, the bill was passed in the Senate thanks to the temporary appointments of 2 independent senators. The bill then became law. These senators were called all kinds of names. They were referred to as traitors of the Constitution. In fact, some wannabe lawyers who never went to law school spoke of people being sued, that the bill was unconstitutional and would be challenged in court. What stupidity! Just for the sake of politics? The Alan Shastney government was classified as dictators just because they were planning for the future. The senators were threatened just because they assisted in putting measures in place to ensure the health and safety of all of us. Some said there was no COVID, so they planned big demonstrations, large crowds standing shoulder to shoulder, no social distancing, no wearing of masks, and those who had masks were wearing them like chin diapers. So, who could forget the largest protest march Saint Lucia ever had? People had their boat rides, had pool parties, had dinner parties, congregating in bars. They did all of that because they were of the view that there was no COVID here, and Shastney and the CMO did not know what they were talking about. As the Lucian saying goes, mili point. Look at now. The government had the foresight to put these measures in place, not for 1 week or for 1 month, but for 2 years, because they were astute enough to think long term. They are not sand castle planners like some others. So guess what? These same people now have the audacity to blame the CMO, calling her all kinds of derogatory names. Did she encourage you to have your parties? While she was up all night working on ways to save our lives, some of you were doing your partying, so stop the hypocrisy. Stop blaming her and the Alan Chastney government for the increase in cases. You believe this, Saint Lucia? They're looking to blame anything and anybody but themselves. So much work has gone into trying to ensure that we remain safe. Hundreds of people are working to keep all of us safe. They are only asking you to follow the protocols. At one time, Saint Lucia was seen as one of the leaders in the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. But believe it or not, some people seemingly did not want this. Let me tell you, Saint Lucia, there is a phenomenon called the self-fulfilling prophecy, in which people predict that something will happen, and it happens. So, for example, someone might say that Saint Lucia is the worst prepared country with respect to COVID-19, then behave in ways which will cause that thing to happen, and when it happens, they boast, "I had told you so." Those of you who are blaming the CMO and the Alan Chastney government for the increase in cases and the handling of the pandemic, just stop it. Stop the hypocrisy. Those of you who are now saying, let's follow Barbados and the stringent measures implemented there, just look yourselves in the mirror and ask, why did I cut my nose to spite my face? Saint Lucia, please adhere to the instructions from the Ministry of Health. Don't wait until COVID reaches home for you to take it seriously. This virus is no respecter of political affiliation. That being said, let me express my profound appreciation to the CMO and her team, and of course, the Alan Chastney government for their stellar leadership. This is Jacinta Annusley with my take on this issue.